Well, why don't we continue offending people and wounding people, and let's get this out of the way. Are there any reviews? Is there anything you watch that we have to hear about?
Yeah, you asked me to. You said, well, you're going to watch SmackDown, aren't you? When we last talked, I said, yeah, I guess I will. And then you're acting like your hands are clean and you're innocent of this whole matter.
The same thing that happens every week's about to happen. I'm going to tell you I didn't watch SmackDown, and you're going to mention several things, and I'm like, oh, I did see that. I walked through the room and I saw something.
Well, then let me try to jog your memory. Let me try to just pick you up and give you a little jiggle. Maybe a middle finger in there somewhere just to get things flowing again. Does it remind you of anything if I said they were in Memphis? Memphis long distance information. Give me Memphis, Tennessee. Help me find a party. Tried to get in touch with me. They did not leave a number, but I know who to call. All those fucking disgruntled wrestling fans that didn't buy a ticket for this show, they're standing out in the hall. So they were in Memphis, and immediately they pull out the big guns. They're on network TV. They're riding high on the big rating from Cena previous week, right? This was January 6th. So out comes Zayn and Solo and the Usos, not from the entranceway, but they immediately, as the show opens and the announcers start talking, those guys all jump over the barricade at ringside and start breaking shit and throwing shit around. I'm like, what the fuck? There's nobody else out there. They're running roughshod, the Bloodline are. Of course, all that stuff's covered by WWE's insurance, I would think, the production equipment, etc. But anyway, they trashed ringside and awaited the entrance of Roman Reigns, and here he comes with Heyman standing and stooging gloriously behind him. And people love these heels, Brian. They're excited to see them. It's like big name stars have come to town, like some of the old days. We used to have big stars in wrestling. They're, again, star power, personality. They're the best thing on the show, and I was being a smartass when I said people love these heels. But here's a question for you before we talk about the interview they did. Is there any baby faces now in the WWE that any more than the current WWE diehard would support over these guys? Or anybody that is strong enough to compete in terms of personality and the way they've been booked and used? Or when Owens comes out there, I know a bunch of people like him, and he's a wonderful worker, but he looks like somebody took half the stuffing out of a fucking mattress compared to, Roman Reigns. And where are our superstar baby faces? That's my question to you on your show.
First of all, it's not my show. It's SmackDown. Second of all, it's hard to have cool baby faces when you have cool, funny heels. And the Bloodline are funny, and they're also badasses. Owens actually probably does as well as anyone at combating that because he could be a smartass on the mic and get people to laugh. But other than that, they don't have a lot of strong baby faces. That's why I think a lot of people internally are hoping Cody could deliver something when he comes back.
Boy, they need him. But anyway, in this particular interview segment, Roman wanted to hear from Sammy, and Sammy was happy and putting everybody over and putting everybody on notice that 2023 belongs to the Bloodline. We're going to send a message this year. Everybody won on Raw Monday night. But then Roman said, what about last year? Because Sammy's the one that lost the match with Cena and Owens last week. And at this point, again, Roman Reigns did a masterful job of building the whole thing up. I didn't lose. Sammy lost. Why did you call your shot? Why did you guarantee your win? Are you trying to be like me, do things like I do it? And he worked himself up, obviously in a working way, but it was perfect, natural, into a, you want to be me, motherfucker, type of, attitude. You could see him pissing himself off, and that it was excellent. And right as he really starts blessing Sammy out, as Aunt Lola used to say, By the way, did you know that my Uncle Leslie's truck was in the Flim Flam Man?
I heard that. I heard that earlier
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
It's all over town. Here comes Owen's music, interrupts, and he comes out to the entranceway, and he said, Roman, your anger's misdirected. You're not mad at Sammy, you're mad at me. I caused all that. You've got a KO problem. And of course, he makes the challenge to Roman Reigns' title match at the Royal Rumble. And Roman Reigns accepted, and everybody kind of left. So they got the business done they needed to get done, and nobody cussed on a live mic, and all the equipment worked or whatever, but it was a little flat way of. And once again, I mean, you know, I'm the one who preaches, well, they can't jump people 16 times on every program. So, but it seemed like, because I mean, the people, when Roman was up in Sammy's face, they were right there, and okay, well, we want to see the match, but all right. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Have I jogged your memory yet?
No, I don't think I saw any of this.
Well, the first match, because that's just been a promo, was Kofi Kingston against Pablo Escobar. And after that, we were 30 minutes in. Back to the Bloodline. And there at the Bloodline locker room door, of course, and Paul has become like the fucking guy, the doorman in the Wizard of Oz, right? He's the guy, hey, get away, you can't see the wizard. Sammy's groveling to him.
More like the doorman at Studio 54.
Yeah,
Mark Beneke, I think was his name.
Oh, but by the time Paul got finished with him, it was Studio 46. But anyway, so Sammy's groveling to Paul. I'm not trying to be the tribal chief. You got to explain it to him. And Paul's like, I still love you. And he calls him Shmooly? Is that a thing from your people?
Yeah, it's a nickname.
Well, you know, I guess Sammy now is honorarily Yiddish or Jewy. He's a Shmooly, because they're doing that interplay with, I love you, Shmooly, but Paul loves him. But Roman, you know, may be upset. So then they did the VTR of Captain Howdy attacking Bray Wyatt last week while LA Knight stood and, like we all did, wondered what the French fried titty fuck was going on. And then LA Knight did a promo. He reacted, and he did a good promo as always. And we still know nothing about what went on, because since he doesn't know the explanation, in storyline at least, and probably for real, he can't explain it to us. So his promo is about, you know, you can't keep your goons in line. I don't know what the fuck. And then he's promoting a Mountain Dew pitch black match for the Royal Rumble.
Unless you pour the Mountain Dew out, and then it'll be fluorescent green.
Well, hey, I'm about to have a colonoscopy coming up here shortly, and they've told me to stay away from certain colors of these things, but I think maybe they'll substitute the no blood policy. They'll have the strawberry or whatever, and he can just kick him real hard in the stomach and... So, but yeah, they're going to, is that a Prince of Darkness death match? Is that a blindfold match? Is that a lights out match? Literally, is that what the fuck's going to go on here? And how bad is it going to make LA Knight look having to stooge for this falderall? Have you forgotten about Karrion Kross and Scarlett?
Oh yeah, actually I did.
Well, they were on the program. I'd actually forgotten, a couple months ago when they were going to be the hottest thing ever to come into the WWE. And now he's got not only a full, remember he was bald before, he was shaving. And yes, after Steve Austin, that look has been overdone, but he looked kind of mean when he was bald, old Karrion Kross. Remember that? Well, he's got a full head of gorgeous hair now that looks like he's been using herbal essence shampoo on it since the 70s. It's fluffy and it shines, and he looks like some fucking bodybuilder at the local gym now. He doesn't look very mean anymore, but he's coming out with Scarlett. I'm thinking, okay, let's see what Karrion Kross is going to do. Guess what match they had?
What match?
A mixed tag team match. Karrion Kross and Scarlett against, what is his actual real first name? Madcap, old Moss fellow. Whatever Moss his name is, and Emma. A mixed tag match with Karrion Kross went from he's going to fuck up the top guys in the company to having mixed tag. Remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin teamed with Stacy Keibler in that mixed tag match on Raw one night?
I don't know.
No, you don't. So apparently the finish of this thing was that Scarlett threw Emma over the announce desk and Karrion Kross choked old Moss out just right in the middle of the ring. I thought they were going to use him more seriously when they at least let him wear some type of wrestling apparel and took him away from Baron von Corbin. But anyway, apparently now Karrion Kross is messing with Rey Mysterio because after they choked Moss out and threw Emma, whoever she may be, over the announce desk, they put a Rey Mysterio mask on Moss's unconscious head. I guess your head's unconscious. When you're unconscious, your whole body, but especially your head, because that's where your consciousness comes from, right?
Certainly your whole body, as you said, would be unconscious. Yes.
But they didn't put the Rey mask on his whole body. They just put it on his head. If they'd have put it on his wingding, that'd have been fucking hilarious. Look at old dickhead Rey Mysterio.
Well, let me stop you for a second just because of the natural transition. They didn't put on a Rey mask. What about a Ray Khan?
Well, I'll tell you what.
Out of nowhere, Cinderella story. But I can handle the fucking quick pitches, folks. I'll tell you what, if you're tired of hearing this drivel, which apparently Brian Last is, and you would like to hear whatever you want to hear, if you want to pick the soundtrack to your life, the programming that drives you, whether it's talk or music or just white noise, or possibly animal sounds, tigers, lions, and bears, oh my, whatever you want to listen to. You can use the audio accompaniment on your journey through life down that yellow brick road, behind that forbidden green door, and off that proverbial cliff. And right now, the fact is a good pair of wireless earbuds is indispensable in 2023. It was almost goddamn indispensable in 2022, and it was damn near necessary in 2021. And next year, you're going to need these things to breathe, folks. For premium audio at the perfect price point, you got to go with the Raycons. Raycons everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. And they taste pretty goddamn good, too. I mean, you got, what are your senses? Well, they look good, you can see. They feel good, you can touch. They sound good, you can hear. They smell pretty good, except I'll tell you what, I smelled a pair that had been in Stacy's Uncle Leroy's fucking ears. And these were the first Raycons that didn't really smell too good. But most of them smell good, and if you take care of them, they'll smell better longer, even though they're in your orifices. And they taste great, and they're less filling. They've got the optimized gel tips. You can pick your flavors. You have a strawberry, banana, pecan, whatever gel flavor you want. And they give you the perfect in-ear fit. Don't chew these things. Just put them in your mouth and suck on them slowly. Don't put them in your mouth. Don't chew them, suck on them, or do anything else. Just put them in your ear safely and comfortably and listen to some wonderful tunes with Raycon.
Well, actually, if you want to win a karaoke contest, think about this. You could hide two of these bad boys in your jaw behind your molar.
How does that help?
Turn the volume up all the way.
How does that help in a karaoke contest?
Because then, if you turn the volume up all the way and you got them secreted in your jaw, well, then when the tune comes up that you picked, you already know what they're going to play. You've got it ready. You just sing it right into the microphone, but it's the Raycons. You'll sound just like Pat Benatar.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Diana Ross.
How would you know what they're going to play just because you have a Raycon where your molars are?
You programmed you got your fucking Raycons programmed to play the same song as they're going to play on the karaoke, and you just time it right and hit the button.
How you doing that?
Well, how do you do anything with the Raycons that you listen to?
How are you syncing your Raycons with what the what the DJ is going to play next before they play
Because
it?
you ask when you go to karaoke, you say, now they've got Brian coming up to sing, oh, pardon me, handsome stranger, or whatever the fuck. And meanwhile, you've got it secreted right there where you can hit the button and you play it, and you got
hit the button?
Everyday earbuds. Yeah.
So you stick your finger all the way in your mouth right before you start?
Well, most people stick their fingers in their mouth when they hear me sing.
That's true.
But anyway, and you get quality audio at half the price of the other premium audio brands, folks, as well as the ability to win any karaoke contest in town. So it's no wonder that Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 five-star reviews, and they'd get more, but some people still have their fingers stuck in their mouth. And they're 3 customizable sound profiles. And you got the more bass, you got the less bass, and you got the fake karaoke setting. So you can win those contests. The earbud tap functions, noise isolation. You've got an awareness mode. It instantly kicks you up onto a higher plane of consciousness when you kick that in. It's like a turbocharger. One of the old 80s Cougars had those turbocharged motors. Just like that. You press that button, awareness mode instantly. It's like you spent months with the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. You're aware. You're zen. Right now, you can go to Buy Raycon. That's BUYRAYCON, buyraycon.com/JCE right now, immediately this minute after listening to the rest of our program, and get 15% off your Raycon order. Buyraycon.com/JCE, 15% off of your Raycon order. What more can you expect us to do? We're giving you not only the ability to soundtrack your life, win every karaoke contest, you got a snack in your pocket with these customizable, optimized, flavored gel tips that you can put them in your mouth and suck them, and we're getting you 15% off and a higher plane of consciousness. BuyRaycon.com.
That's right, and let's somehow mercifully go back to the SmackDown review.
Is it still going on?
The SmackDown?
That's right. I dodged the curveball, and we're going to start back at, so Drew and Sheamus, they've been on the outs with each other for some time. They've had many Donnie Brooks and bangers and mash. They've had the bangers and mash many times. And they were at Jerry Lawler's Bar and Grill on Beale Street. And they were doing an interview with each other about how now they're on the same side. And basically, it was the most obviously scripted exchange of unconvincing, phony verbiage about their former rivalry that I've ever heard. And then at the end of it, all of the people sitting in the bar who were obviously not paying a lick of attention to him throughout the whole thing heard their cue and started joining in a prearranged chant. So that was that. And then here came Charlotte. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind now, or should be, she is a complete, full-fledged babyface on this roster at this point in time. She came out, she thanked everybody. She's always been about passion, consistency, and dedication. It sounded like she was running for office. Of what a champion does and is. It was very good, but that's what she's doing. And suddenly, out of nowhere, here comes Cruella DeVille's music interrupting. So the other program, AEW, they will announce every goddamn match down to J. Fred Frog versus Jack Off the Wonder Donkey at 100 miles an hour, courtesy of Sockface, for every show for the next, couple of weeks, with graphics to match. So if you not only are taking notes, but also if you're a trained courtroom stenographer, you can take down all the upcoming AEW matches. Here, they don't really They go on the air with SmackDown with the barest idea of a match or two they might have, and everybody just wanders out as the show progresses and makes their own. Have you noticed this, Brian Last?
That is a problem that has swept wrestling, yes.
So in this case, it was one of the latter. So here comes Cruella, and she starts cutting a promo on Charlotte, and the fans took it over. And I don't know if it's the Memphis Grizzlies. I saw a brief explanation on Twitter, and I don't have all the details, but there's a sports chant now in the city of Memphis at one of these sporting games. And they started doing it here to Charlotte about Cruella DeVille, which is whoop that trick. And the people just, for no apparent reason, in the middle of DeVille's promo, start chanting, whoop that trick, whoop that trick, whoop that trick. And they're drowning everything. And Charlotte's kind of about to snicker a bit. And she said something to the effect of, apparently they think you're a trick. And the place blew up. And Cruella finally gets her challenge out. And now, of course, Charlotte gets to ask the people, and they say yes. So, challenge asked and answered, we got a match. And suddenly, after this 10-minute build-up, Cruella jumps Charlotte from behind. And boom, 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 gets on her. But Charlotte turns it around and hits a big kick within about 15 seconds, and they go to the break. So they've spent 10 minutes building this. They send Charlotte out. They get her some goodwill. She gets over with people. They send Cruella out. She becomes a trick. The people get into it. They want to see him fight. Okay, boom. And now we at home are saying, what the fuck? They just pulled the rug out from under us. So that's what I'm talking about when I say that they make their own matches unimportant. If you were, again, in any other sport, if there was a game or a match or a whatever appropriate verbiage, and they'd spent 15 minutes of television time building it up, I can understand we'll be back with the match right after this, but once the fucking fight, match, game, tournament, whatever starts, are you going to go to break within the first 15 seconds? Anyway, Charlotte was Charlotte in this.
What do you think of her? What do you think of her as a babyface?
She was good. Cruella DeVille's work is not great, but she has a great look and she's a great heel. Because she was actually healing with her bitch face and her, demeanor. She was actually trying to rough this opponent up rather than, the other heel girls that are the Barbie type heels or whatever. And I'll say one thing, Charlotte. She did a forward handstand round off or something into a clothesline. And I love Charlotte. She should take that one out and never do that one again. It didn't connect right or look right. But anyway, she hit a spear and got the figure eight and won in a few minutes. So this was a good win for Charlotte. I'm not sure where Cruella's stock is laying at this point. And then they did a big, go ahead.
Any mention of Ronda?
I tuned out the commentary like I usually do. They may have talked about her. Nothing really registered.
Right, she was the champion. She lost in seconds to Charlotte last week. I was just wondering if they would have run up anything.
They probably did. I'm just searching through this trying to find something redeeming. The Cody package, they're building for his return, and apparently they're going back to what they started with. It wouldn't make any sense to do anything otherwise. The dream of winning the title for his daddy. And as long as they, bring him back, they need him badly. They need a top baby face. They need somebody with a story that they can half-ass sink their teeth into, and obviously it means a lot to Cody, so he's going to give it the best chance it's got. So, yes, let's have more of that. But then, oh my God, Brian, this is why you should have watched the program. Every once in a while, it's must-see TV just for an update on our favorite popular group in wrestling. We've been following for a couple weeks since the Hindenburg crashed, the exploits of Flop Dollar and his group Skid Row, along with B-Fab and Adonis. Have you heard what's gone on now?
No.
Apparently, and I don't know whether Flop Dollar knows it or not, but apparently the office or creative, whoever, saw the feedback that he got when he tried to defend himself from that Fosbury flop over the top rope dive a couple weeks ago. They've turned him heel.
Get out of here.
They've turned him fucking because he
That's the only thing you could have done.
He was such a, petulant child. Well, here's a video of me in a barn doing it, and I cleared it, and I was 50 pounds heavier, and then he lands on his head or whatever. It was a Royal Rumble qualifying match. Ricochet versus Flop Dollar. And apparently, previously, for the previous week, whatever the fuck that we might have missed in a backstage thing, old Flop disrespected Ricochet. Because he feels disrespect because the boys, apparently the story is a bunch of the boys in the locker room were making fun of Flop Dollar for flopping his dive, right? And that included Ricochet said something, so now there's some issue here, right? And by the way, they announced Ricochet. You remember Ricochet, right? You can get a mental picture in your mind of Ricochet.
Yeah, of course.
Guess what weight they announced him at?
What they announced him at?
Yes.
You're saying it like it's a different weight than they used to announce him at?
Well, remember when I've always said if you got a guy that's so small he can fucking fit through a fucking keyhole without greasing himself up, it maybe put an extra 15 or 20 pounds on. Nobody's going to know, but it might make it a little more palatable, just subliminally, whatever.
215.
207. I would think he'd have to have rocks in his pockets and fucking a beanbag on top of his head to hit 185, but they announced him at 207, so somebody's listening. Anyway, they actually gave Skid Row their entrance in the break, if that tells you anything else also. I talked about the Hindenburg. This may be more in line with another disaster, the Titanic, because they're bailing away from this fucking sinking ship. So they ring the bell on this match. You got Ricochet, who's 5'6" and of a disputed weight, and Top Dollar, who, is losing weight, because remember, he was huge. He was 400 pounds, and now he looks, I don't know, sort of like a fucking halfway deflated human water bed at this point. But Flop Dollar lurches across the ring at Ricochet like a bucket of disconnected body parts and starts kicking the shit out of him. And he was working full heel. It didn't look bad at first because he wasn't actually trying any moves. He was just mauling the smaller guy and getting all over him and trash. He can do the trash talking. Because we mentioned Flop Dollar is convinced that he is a superstar. But within 2 minutes, Ricochet hit a kick and a small package and a flippy move and a shooting star press off the top, 1, 2, 3. So within 2 minutes, they beat I've never seen a manatee defeated that easily before. They generally put up a bigger fight. So boom. So they've switched him heel based on Flop Dollar's reaction to his botch on social media. They gave him their entrance in the break. They beat him with a guy half his size in 2 minutes. And then old Flop Dollar offers his hand to Ricochet, and they shook hands, and then all of Skid Row attacked him and beat him up until here came Brown Strongman and ran in and made the save. So is this a way to say, well, we're gonna get 6 weeks of something out of these morons before we bid them adieu again? That's what it would sounded like back in the territory days.
I don't know.
So anyway, finally, we get back to the bloodline. Roman Reigns has asked for Sami Zayn's presence in the locker room. And they go to the break, and they come back, and Sami's there. Imagine if he'd have been late. It would have screwed up their whole show. And Sami, of course, tells Roman that he's not trying to take over. He don't want to be the tribal chief. He's apologizing. And then Roman Reigns says, I don't accept that apology. And then he starts being philosophical, Reigns does. He says, I'm the tribal chief. I set a standard. I've got to control my anger. I shouldn't have done that in public. He's apologizing to Sami. I shouldn't have lost control like that. Should have done it in private. Because Owens was right. I'm mad at him. I'm taking it out on you. I've got a Kevin Owens problem. But we're going to fix it. Because next week, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. And I think, oh my God. I think Sami and Owens are writing this program now because anytime they get a chance to work with each other, but at least that'll be interesting next week. And then, finally, again, Brian, you'll never guess what the main event on this program was. How many wrestlers they got on this roster in the WWE universe?
I don't know.
We counted, well, that was before the big initial firing. We had counted 200. They got rid of a lot, but they've hired a lot back. The Usos versus Sheamus and Drew McIntyre was the main event. And at this point, it's for the tag team title, by the way. It's nothing wrong with these guys' work. It just seems like this is the same thing with the same people. And nobody thinks the belts are changing hands on a 14-minute TV match. And that includes the last break in that 14 minutes. And it turned into a goddamn good match. But it just that I think all of the WWE shows look the same. Matches are set up the same way. People interact with the same people a lot. And it's not even like the territory days where you see the angle of the interaction or the clip of the interaction and you're expected to pay to see the non-televised house show. You're watching it on TV every week, and it's harder to get into. But anyway, as I said, this was a good match that got the people in the arena. I don't know what it did for their ratings, but at the end, finally, the Usos, they have these little magical finishes they do where Sheamus went for his finish, but Jimmy had tagged Jay's leg. But they did a double super kick and the 1D finish, and that was a 2 count for a big pop. And then Solo at ringside takes Drew McIntyre out, and here comes Ridge and Butch, and they get on Solo. And Sheamus wiped out the Usos, but one of them schoolboyed him, and the other held him on top from behind for the 1, 2, 3. So it was a little fuck finish, and Sami in the back spilled his popcorn everywhere. So, it was a good tag match, and the people in the arena liked it. Again, I'm not sure that there's, they brought John Cena back last week and got a big rating, but with the same dozen people interacting the same way on a 2-hour network television program every week, I don't think that it's different enough to snag people's attention that, oh, shit, I need to watch this again after I've taken so long from doing that. What do you think, Brian?
We just talked about it with the Dynamite ratings, the idea that there is a large audience, specifically a younger and younger audience that doesn't care about cable TV or primetime TV, doesn't watch TV, doesn't care about what time a show comes on because they'll watch whatever they want whenever they want it. The exception being when something is live and you have to see it. Right there in the moment. Like a big sports game. Whatever it may be. A big finale of a show. It's happening. It's cultural. I need to see it. Whether that's 50 million people or 1 million people who feel that way. I don't think WWE or by and large AEW produce that feeling from fans often. So it becomes, hey, SmackDown was last night. Let me go to Twitter and see what happened. SmackDown was last night. Let me go to YouTube and watch the highlights. Or let me go to my DVR and fast forward. You have to give people a reason to stop on a Friday night or whatever night and say, I need to watch this live. And when you have a track record of not producing that, it also takes a while to get people trained to actually think something could happen again.
Well, the thing is also they've gone to such pains in the past to the WWE is sports programming when it's convenient, but they don't present the program like a sport. And then when the other, which is SmackDown and Fox considers themselves sports, whereas USA, they're in the entertainment classification. Is that correct?
I believe so.
It's one or the other. I think it's that one. But the point is, rights fees for live sports are the things that go up drastically. I know there's rights fees for everything these days, but the sports is what's made the splash. And I would think they would try to have more of that presentation if they're trying to sell themselves as live sports. If it's a scripted entertainment program, like they used to say with USA, who still considers them entertainment, the longest running dramatic program, whatever the fuck. Well, then you can watch that next week. It's not time dated. If you haven't seen it, it's new to you, whatever. The urgency isn't there, maybe in some people's minds, besides the, 2 million people left. That's the WWE audience, for better or worse. But I don't see anything live like the days of the Attitude Era of surprising things going on. And I'm not talking about the stuff in the bathroom or whatever. I'm talking about the stuff with an Austin or a Rock or whatever, the big shit. I don't see the urgency of anything can happen or shocking or different or whatever on the WWE programs. They're slickly produced, and all the talent makes their own matches, and it flows from one thing to another, and it all looks the same, especially Raw's 3 hours long. And on the other programming, AEW, you and I actually probably have more reason to watch that live than most people do, because there is the chance that anything can happen. It's just that they never plan it that way. Anything, some motherfucker's going to say motherfucker on the microphone on live cable, or somebody's going to, land in a horrible crash and burn and paralyze themselves, or, get carted off, or something is going to be hilariously off kilter. With the WWE, most of the time, nobody's going to do anything so stupid that they just collapse in a heap. Everything, injuries and anything can happen, but there's a level of professionalism. The production is not going to fall apart. Things are not just, sometimes there's things worthy of derision for being phony and silly, but not just completely off the rails. Like I started to say Rick Ross. Rick, don't
that
call
Jim
me
Ross,
Jim Ross.
That Jim Ross is off the rails.
Boy. So it's like you watch one show because anything can happen, but it's not the fault of the people putting it together. It's really anything can happen, because you never know from one second to the other if they know what they're doing. And on the other program, nothing ever fucking happens. I don't know.
If you were a teenage wrestling fan, and a few years earlier you had a best friend who watched it with you, and he doesn't watch it as much anymore, but you're still into it, could you call him up in advance of this SmackDown and tell him anything that's going to be on this show that would make him, the older fan, the former fan, think, yeah, you know what? It's Friday night. I need to stop what I'm doing and watch this. There's not a lot happening. There's nothing on these shows, the water cooler talk phrase or whatever you want to call it. There's nothing that makes you want to go out of your way to talk about this or see this.
Why couldn't it be the coffee pot, by the way?
Because you don't like coffee.
People drink coffee, though.
You don't.
I don't drink water either.
It
would be at the Sprite Zero cooler.
I still can't get over you don't drink water.
Water is just unflavored Sprite Zero, but nevertheless, that's the thing, is that what would I say? I would say, well, you'll love the stuff that Heyman and Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn do. Well, did they wrestle? Well, no, they do interviews throughout the show. Well, I'll just DVR it and skip through if I have time. It's not like, boy, this fucking show's cooking. They got all kinds of shit going on, a lot of talent. Things are fresh. And over on, again, on the other program, I would say, don't watch this. It'll hurt if you used to like wrestling and don't anymore, don't watch this program. It'll hurt your feelings even worse, except for MJF. And so then you're telling people, watch a part of the program, don't watch the whole thing, because a lot of it'll just bore you or make you mad. But these certain people in this program, if you can search through the 2 hours to get to the 10 minutes of them, you'll love that. It's like the wrestling you used to watch. I don't know if that's a strong sales pitch.
I don't think it is. But that's an indictment of wrestling, an indictment of SmackDown nowadays. And that was SmackDown, ladies and gentlemen, for January 6th. Correct?
That's right.
Well, that was WWE Smackdown for January 6th. Another sad affair on a Friday night.
Another sad affair on a Friday. How many sad affairs have you had on Friday nights recently?
Recently, none. Ever. Not too many. But I have to imagine some of the people out there are having a rough Friday night. Some people out there have a rough every night. And maybe there's not someone that...
Boy, you're having a rough day, I'll tell you that. Folks, if you're like Brian Last and you need somebody to talk to practice your podcast, or whatever the case may be, our friends at BetterHelp can help you. This show, by the way, is sponsored by BetterHelp, as so many of them have been over the past few years, because we've been spreading the word that the folks at BetterHelp can help you be a better person. Sometimes life gets you bogged down, like Brian's verbal skills today. You may feel overwhelmed. You're not overwhelmed.
I feel overwhelmed.
You may feel overwhelmed at this whole thing, at this thing called life. You're not showing up and going on the field and giving it your all like you want to, because when you're at your best, you can do great things. But when you're not, sometimes you can't dodge all those curveballs that life throws at you or your podcast co-host throws at you. So therefore, you need somebody to talk to. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, flexible, affordable, entirely online. You don't have to go anywhere, talk to anybody in person. You can do it remotely, as the kids say. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge, and give it a try. If you want to live a more empowered life, then therapy can get you there. And right now, if you go to BetterHelp.com, that's HELP, BetterHelp.com/JCE, you're going to get 10% off your first month's services. BetterHelp.com/JCE, 10% off your first month's services. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and you can be helped by BetterHelp and become your own person to sponsor somebody. You know, if BetterHelp helps you, you go out, you start a big company. It becomes like the WWE, publicly traded, worth billions of dollars. And then you can you can get sponsored by BetterHelp and spread the word around, and it'll just continue on like a tree blossoming and blooming in the forest, Brian.
That's a forest of no good, it sounds like there.
I'm giving you all I've got, Captain.
You certainly are. Let me ask you on the topic, coming out of BetterHelp, just the idea of needing someone to talk to. Do you think there should be almost an exclusive trade for like a wrestling therapist? Someone that knows the business enough that they could talk to wrestlers and actually help them through their legitimate problems that very often will involve the way they're being used, the way they're being booked, the money they're making, whatever it may be?
You know, honestly, on the surface of it, it sounds like a good idea, but then who would want that job? Think about that. You would have to talk to, on a daily basis, multiple insecure wrestlers, multiple strange, weird, and unusual personalities that have all assimilated into this wild, wacky world we call pro wrestling, I think then the biggest call for therapists, it would be for therapists to give therapy to the therapists, because they'd all be nuts. Maybe probably better just stay away from the wrestling business.